Something extraordinary has emerged from the Vatican's secret archives, something that threatens to shake the very foundations of what we thought we knew about the message of Fatima. A letter, hidden for decades within the deepest vaults of the Holy See, has finally come to light. Today, November 25th, 2025, marks the moment when the silence is broken. Sister Lucia dos Santos, the last surviving visionary of Fatima, wrote words before her death that changed everything. Words so profound and unsettling that the church hierarchy kept them buried until now. We can finally reveal what Sister Lucia never dared to say publicly, but what she secretly penned to a specific priest, Father Petar, the Franciscan chosen to eventually reveal the 10 secrets of Medjugorje. This document establishes a bridge that no one predicted, a direct, undeniable connection between the two most significant Marian apparitions in history. As a small thank you for joining us today during this breaking update, we want to offer a moment of shared blessing. Comment with the word faith below if you are open to receiving a special final thought dedicated to everyone participating. And please press like if you appreciate these urgent reports. This is not just another historical curiosity. This letter was discovered only 3 weeks ago by a researcher working within the archives. It had been filed under a completely different classification, deliberately mislabeled to avoid detection. But as it is written in the Gospel of Luke, for there is not anything secret that shall not be made manifest, nor hidden, that shall not be known and come abroad. Luke 8, verse 17 DRB. Providence has a way of bringing light into the darkness, and now the world must know what Sister Lucia truly witnessed over a century ago. Sister Lucia managed to send this final message before her death in 2005, a time capsule designed to be opened only now, during these specific times of global upheaval and spiritual crisis. The Vatican knew everything, yet they did not want us to know the truth. But how did a nun confined to a convent manage to orchestrate this revelation? In the next chapter, we will take you inside the cell of Sister Lucia in 2004 and reveal the specific thread she spoke of that connects her vision in Portugal to the hills of Bosnia. To understand the gravity of this discovery, we must go back to the year 2004, just months before Sister Lucia passed into eternity. She was 97 years old, confined to her humble cell in the Carmelite convent of Coimbra. Witnesses confirmed that while her physical health was failing, her mind remained as sharp and clear as crystal. It was during these final days that her visitors began to report something unusual. The nun, who had spent a lifetime in contemplation, began speaking repeatedly of a specific connection, a spiritual thread binding Fatima to other apparitions around the world. Father Antonio Martins, who served as her confessor during those twilight years, kept detailed notes of their conversations. In his private diary, which has only recently been made available to researchers, he documented Sister Lucia's growing urgency. She spoke of letters she had written, documents containing truths deemed too dangerous for their time, truths that would only make sense when the world had descended into a specific depth of spiritual darkness. As the prophet Habakkuk wrote, "For the vision is yet for an appointed time, but at the end it shall speak and not lie. Though it tarry, wait for it." Habakkuk 2 verse 3, KJV. The appointed time, it seems, is now. One name appeared in her conversations with haunting frequency, Father Petar. This is a Franciscan priest from Bosnia chosen by the visionaries of Medjugorje to eventually reveal their secrets to the world. Sister Lucia had never met him in the flesh. Yet, she spoke of him with intimate familiarity, as if they were old friends united in the same divine mission. She referred to him by a specific title, the custodian of the final warnings. She explicitly stated that he would be the voice to announce the conclusion of the great spiritual battle that began at Fatima in 1917. This spiritual link defies natural explanation. How could a cloistered nun in Portugal focus so intensely on a parish priest in Bosnia? The answer lies in the letter itself. Written in her own hand, authenticated by 3 independent experts in pontifical documentation. The paper bears a watermark of the Vatican Chancellery. Ink analysis confirms it was penned between March and May of 2004, making it one of her final acts on Earth. But the most incredible part of this story isn't that she wrote it, it is how it survived. In the next chapter, we will reveal the shadow network of faithful Catholics who smuggled this letter past the Vatican censors and kept it safe for 21 years. This letter was never entrusted to the standard Vatican Postal Service, nor did it pass through the official diplomatic pouches of the Holy See. Instead, it was handed over to a clandestine network of faithful Catholics, men and women who understood the explosive nature of the document and were willing to risk everything to preserve it. It passed through hands that must remain nameless, carried by couriers who operated in the shadows to ensure the truth survived. For 21 years, it lay hidden, a silent time bomb waiting for a precise moment when its detonation would serve a divine plan. The content of the letter begins with an admission that will haunt every Catholic who reads it. Sister Lucia writes explicitly about the incompleteness of the disclosure made in the year 2000, when the Vatican released what it claimed was the entirety of the third secret of Fatima. She speaks of perspectives that were deliberately omitted and truths that were suppressed because they were deemed too shocking for the faithful to bear at that time. As Jesus said, "There is nothing covered that shall not be revealed, nor hidden that shall not be known." Luke 12, verse 2, KJV. The time for covering is over. In the text, the nun addresses Father Petar directly, calling him her brother in the mission to warn humanity. She tells him plainly that the secrets he holds in Medjugorje are inextricably linked to what she witnessed at the Cova de Iria in 1917. The apparitions were not isolated events separated by geography and time. They were chapters in a single, century-spanning master plan orchestrated by heaven. Sister Lucia clarifies that the famous vision of the bishop dressed in white, often interpreted as an assassination attempt on a pope, was merely the beginning of a story, not the end. She writes that she was given the grace to see beyond that moment, witnessing events that would unfold throughout the 20th and 21st centuries. What she saw next was terrifying. In the next chapter, we will reveal her vision of a church divided against itself, and a specific dream she had in the 1980s where the Virgin Mary showed her the faces of 6 children in Bosnia. What Sister Lucia describes seeing next in her letter goes far beyond a well-known vision of the bishop in white falling under gunfire. She writes that this image, often interpreted solely as the assassination attempt on Pope John Paul II, was merely the opening scene of a much longer, more harrowing drama. As her vision continued, she witnessed a spiritual civil war unfolding within the very heart of Christianity. She described seeing the church divided against itself, a terrifying echo of the Akita prophecy. She saw entire nations, once bastions of faith, falling into profound spiritual darkness, seduced by material progress while their souls withered. Even more disturbing, she witnessed a rise of false prophets, charismatic figures who would deceive millions, leading them away from the cross with promises of an easy gospel. If this message resonates deep within you, and you feel moved to affirm your faith right now, simply type Amen in the comments below. But amidst this vision of shadow, a light emerged. In the second part of her letter, Sister Lucia reveals a specific connection that changes history. She writes that in the 1980s, decades after the apparitions at Fatima had ceased, the Queen of Peace appeared to her again in a vivid dream. In this dream, the Virgin Mary did not show her Portugal. She showed her the rocky hills of Bosnia. Sister Lucia writes that she was shown the faces of 6 young children, faces she had never seen before, but which she would later recognize as the visionaries of Medjugorje. The message was unmistakably clear. These 6 children were chosen to continue the work that began in the Cova de Iria. She understood in that moment that the 10 secrets of Medjugorje are not a separate event, but the direct completion of the 3 secrets of Fatima. As St. Paul wrote, "For we know in part and we prophesy in part. But when that which is perfect is come, that which is in part shall be done away. 1 Corinthians 13 verses 9 to 10 KJV. The partial revelation of Fatima is finding its perfection in Medjugorje. This letter confirms that the timeline of salvation history is a single, unbroken thread. But why was this crucial link hidden for so long? The answer involved a cover-up at the highest levels. In the next chapter, we will reveal the conspiracy of silence Sister Lucia exposes, and the secret meetings in the Vatican during the 1990s that decided you weren't ready for the truth. The most explosive revelation in Sister Lucia's letter is not about angels or demons, but about the bureaucracy of the Church itself. She exposes what she explicitly calls a conspiracy of silence. According to her testimony, high-ranking Vatican officials have known about the inextricable link between Fatima and Medjugorje for decades. They did not miss the connection. They actively chose to bury it. Sister Lucia named specific cardinals who had access to her private correspondence and understood clearly that the Church was entering its darkest hour. She described secret meetings that took place within the Vatican walls during the 1990s. In these closed-door sessions, a decision was made to release only a portion of the third secret in the year 2000. The rationale was political and pragmatic. They determined that the full truth would cause mass panic among the faithful and further undermine the Church's authority at a time when it was already reeling from numerous scandals. Instead of transparency, they chose compartmentalization. They treated Fatima, Medjugorje, and other approved apparitions as separate, unrelated events rather than chapters of a single divine narrative. This deliberate separation prevented the faithful from seeing the full scope of heaven's plan. As Jesus warned in the Gospel of Mark, "For there is nothing hid which shall not be made manifest, neither was it made secret, but that it may come abroad." Mark 4 verse 22 KJV. The secret was kept not to protect the flock, but to protect the institution. Sister Lucia even reveals a personal request made by Cardinal Joseph Ratzinger, the future Pope Benedict XVI. She writes that he explicitly asked her to limit her public statements regarding the connections between the various apparitions. While she obeyed this request during her lifetime out of a vow of obedience, she felt a higher duty to preserve the complete truth for future generations. This letter to Father Petar was her failsafe, her way of ensuring the full picture would eventually emerge when the world was ready. The Vatican decided that the full revelation had to wait for the appointed time. But when is that time? According to the letter, the timeline is not vague. In the next chapter, we will reveal the specific signs of the times Sister Lucia predicted would mark the year 2025, including war in the Middle East and the greatest crisis of faith in history. According to the letter, the appointed time for the full revelation was not left to vague interpretation. Sister Lucia identified specific, unmistakable markers that would signal when the world was finally ready to hear the truth. She wrote that the seal should be broken only when 3 specific conditions were met. Wars would multiply in the Middle East, the Church would face its greatest historical crisis of faith, and Marian apparitions would no longer be ignored by the highest ecclesiastical authorities. In a chilling detail that feels like reading today's headlines, she noted that all these conditions would converge by the year 2025. The letter also clarifies one of the most controversial aspects of the Fatima message, the consecration of Russia. Sister Lucia reveals that while the consecration was accomplished in form, it was never fully completed in spirit. She explains that the errors of Russia were not merely political systems like communism, but deep spiritual viruses. These errors, atheism, materialism, and the destruction of the family, have now spread to every corner of the globe, just as she predicted in 1917. To join our community and never miss an inspiring story, consider clicking like and subscribing to the channel. The reaction inside the Vatican to the rediscovery of this letter has been frantic. Pope Francis has reportedly been briefed on the contents. Witnesses describe his reaction not as shock, but as deep, sorrowful contemplation, suggesting he may have suspected these connections all along. Emergency meetings are taking place this very week behind the Leonine walls. The debate is no longer about whether to acknowledge the letter, but how to manage the inevitable global fallout when the truth is admitted. The atmosphere in Rome is heavy with secrets. Cardinal Pietro Parolin, the Vatican Secretary of State, has been spotted entering the Apostolic Palace at unusual hours. He was seen carrying documents bearing distinctive red seals, markings reserved only for matters of the absolute highest ecclesiastical importance. As Jesus said, "For there shall be then great tribulation, such as hath not been from the beginning of the world until now, neither shall be." Matthew 24, verse 21, DRB. The church is preparing for the tribulation Sister Lucia foresaw. But the most important reaction isn't happening in Rome. It is happening in Bosnia. In our final chapter, we will reveal how Father Petar has changed since reading the letter, and the final warning Sister Lucia gives to us all. The circle is finally closing. In Bosnia, the man entrusted with the secrets of the world's future has been changed by the voice of a nun from the past. Father Petar Jabisic, now fully aware of the content of Sister Lucia's letter, has been observed spending unprecedented hours in prostrate prayer before the Blessed Sacrament. Witnesses in the parish report that his demeanor has shifted drastically. Where he once carried the burden of the secrets with quiet, patient resignation, he now moves with an urgent, fiery sense of purpose. He knows that the time of waiting is over. Mirjana, too, is displaying signs of heightened spiritual activity. Those closest to her report that she is experiencing more frequent mystical encounters, speaking openly about the fulfillment of long-awaited promises. The silence that protected these secrets for over 2 decades has been shattered, but Sister Lucia's final warning extends beyond the church walls. In her letter, she predicts that as these events unfold, secular powers will attempt to intervene. She warns that certain political figures will try to manipulate these religious events for their own agendas. However, she assures us that these efforts will backfire spectacularly. The spiritual nature of the coming phenomenon will be so authentic and undeniable that no government will be able to spin it or contain it. We are approaching a spiritual surgery. Painful, perhaps, but necessary to remove the infection and corruption that has taken hold of the world. The instruction Sister Lucia gives to Father Petar, and through him to all of us, is simple but vital. She commands him to prepare the faithful not through fear, but through prayer and penance. The conspiracy of silence is broken. The connection between the Cova de Iria and the hills of Medjugorje is exposed for all to see. As St. Paul wrote to the Thessalonians, "But you, brethren, are not in darkness, that that day should overtake you as a thief. For all you are the children of light and children of the day." 1 Thessalonians 5, verses 4-5, DRB. We are living in the time Sister Lucia foresaw. The conditions are met. The year 2025 is upon us. The question is no longer if the secrets will be revealed, but where you will be standing when they are. As we conclude this urgent investigation into the hidden history of our faith, we invite you to declare your allegiance to the King of Kings. Comment "Jesus is King" below to affirm this truth with us. And your journey doesn't have to stop here. Click on the video appearing on your screen now for another powerful message we prepared for you.